Welcome back to Chukitable Media. Let's have some discussion. This vlog is very important.
Omoyele Sowore gives details about what he knows and what he wants about the upcoming national protest that has been causing brouhaha, fear left and right from the government quarters. Let's hear the details on how to avert it and what to do to solve the problem.
Good morning,
Thank you
Sowore.
for having me. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Now, a lot of prominent activists are saying that the young people have a right to protest and, of course, have the freedom to speak out. Well, on the other side, we see some institutional leads from, NANS to religious leaders saying that there should be calm in the midst of the storm and find a way to have a conversation with the executive. Well, what's your stance on this? And I saw in the paper that you said that the FCT will be the place to commence the protests. Can you lead us into what the plans are?
Well, that was a response to the Commissioner of Police in the FCT that the FCT would not participate or discouraging people or threatening people not to participate in the protest. And I responded immediately that the FCT, being the federal capital of Nigeria, would be the first place for protests to commence because that's where all the guys who are causing these problems are based officially. So, and that is a message for the CP and whomever is trying to discourage or threaten people, or intimidate people in the FCT. So, and I hope he got my message very clear that there is no going back on this protest in the FCT and other parts of Nigeria. This is a protest, to my mind, that will happen in all the cities, towns, and villages in Nigeria and beyond. There are also plans by people in the diaspora to go to the embassies and consulates, Nigeria concerns, wherever they might find them, or where they don't exist, to go to the government of their home countries to lay the complaints against the Nigerian government to end bad governance across the country.
And when you say there's no going back on this protest, it gives a sense that no matter what government does, there won't be any going back. Or is there anything you think if government takes that initiative now and does it from today, like our reviewer said, I don't know if you listen to them, that this protest can be averted?
No, we know that by nature, governments do not listen to people. They don't listen to the Nigerian people until Nigerian people step their foot down. And that is what's going to happen. There's a set of demands. We have 15 on our side that has been made public. And so far, what we've seen the government do is just do what they know how to do best. In my view, actually to fuel and insult and provoke the people to protest, and people are ready to respond appropriately. So I do not see them resolving any of those issues. Of course, I listen to your reviewers, and both of them made fantastic submission on some of the issues, particularly on the hardship imposed on the people. But I disagree with them fundamentally on the issue of the Southeast, where they said people have no right to sit at home. Well, there's a reason why the people are sitting at home in the Southeast, and it's part of the demands of this protest. And it's very clear, the release of Mazin Nnamdi Kanu, who has been held illegally in detention for the past 3 years, abducted from Kenya, and what is known internationally as extraordinary rendition, which is unacceptable in international law.
All right. Now, I saw a report on a list of some of the things that were listed on Sahara Reporters when you talked about the fact that what hashtag revolution now is about the movement to stop bad governance. And, you unveiled a list of Nigerians in positions of authority inciting the public to riot.
Yes.
We listened to some of the things that the reviewers say, and I know that on your X handle you narrated some of the things that were bad with this government. You talked about the fact that Senator Godswill Akpabio and House of Rep Speaker Tajuddin Abbas are leading the most useless Senate and House of Rep. I mean, you use such words, on your listing. How do you also hope, because the word riot, the word protest, there's a thin line. And, some of the things that the reviewer said was procurement of third parties in this protest. Are you perhaps worried that this could be manipulated at some point by the executive or perhaps third parties?
I think your reviewer, particularly the newspaper columnist Muda, I don't remember his name correctly,
Dr.
made a
Marco,
fantastic submission. Yes, about this. That it has never happened. I have participated in over 200 protests in Nigeria and elsewhere, and there's never been a time that I have participated in a protest that was violent in any nature in which we procured third parties. The third parties, or the fifth columnists as they are referred to, are government either infiltrating these protests or provoking protesters who are engaging in peaceful protests to suppress their voices, and this is what leads to violence most of the cases. In the case that he raised, which was the last one, NSAS, it was a non-violent protest, but governments initially sent security agents used SUVs to convey thugs to beat up protesters. In Abuja, at Bega, they brought people all the way from Katsina and Kaduna with daggers, with violent, dangerous weapons to attack protesters. Some of the protesters actually fought back and drove them away. In Lagos, before the government sent soldiers to kill protesters at the toll gate, they had initially brought some thugs from Agege. You must have seen that iconic picture of a guy in Lagos who was holding a machete. Mm-hmm. He came to attack protesters, particularly our own members in Ikeja, with machete. They were brought in Lagos state buses to that venue. It was when that didn't work that they brought in soldiers from a barrack in Lagos to shoot and kill protesters at the toll gate. So it's always government that introduces violence into this protest. So there is no need blackmailing innocent, peaceful protesters with, the tag that, there are third parties. If there are third parties or fifth column, there's always the Nigerian government that have done this. And they do it in such a brazen manner that they don't even hide their footprints when they engage in this.
Okay, there are questions as to, whether protests really address issues at the end of the day. Because at the end of the NSAS protest, we saw that there's no longer SARS. That was the most the government could do, replacing it with another name, really, so to speak. And we don't have that much brutality anymore. But then some of the reforms that the people talked about during that protest are still there. We're still having some of the issues till today. So to avert such a breakdown, again, by hoodlums or people who may be imported, like you said, by the government to destabilize the protesters, do you think that if the government toes the line that the NLC is talking about now, which is to judge with the people, that, it may be a way to stop the protest from starting at all? And the government, even Tinubu, is also talking about in the papers today that he's already addressing the issues, so there's no need for
So for more information on this,
if the government was addressing the issue, even you
can go to
you are in the media, you
Chambers
are analyzing what's happening in Nigeria today.
Chambers of
they have not
Deputies
addressed any of
website.
the issues.
Then you will be able to see
the interesting thing about this particular protest was I don't like
NSAS.
We started to discuss some of the terms, what at the point it was 145. This one already has.
One thing I want to do is to bring to you the opinion
beyond even the government
of people online in the country.
And you can see it everywhere. And the columnist on your show this morning made a fantastic submission about restoration of subsidy, but we just don't want subsidy restored. We want subsidy restored in a short term, which is that to ease the pain of Nigeria, because that's the only thing you benefit from Nigeria anyway. But ultimately, that we must prepare our refineries to be self-sustaining in the energy sector.
So I have,
as I'm talking to you, I already have information here that there's no electricity in Nigeria today, that the national grid has collapsed again in major parts of the country. So to address all this fundamentally, but does it look like government is doing that? No. They are only there taking care of themselves. As I'm speaking with you, a jet will soon be on its way to Nigeria, purchased by the Nigerian president. It's almost $150 million. In the midst of
your flavor
people being unable to feed
of the
themselves
day
and families
is.
and afford even,
You understand what it said?
medicine. They can't
John
send their
G.
children to school
also
anymore.
wrote, he
The
said,
system in the
exactly,
country has
this
collapsed.
shouldn't
Nobody's
be
doing anything
about
about it.
someone's
These
bedroom
guys,
performances
like
or preferences.
one of your analysts said this morning, are acting like rock
This
stars.
exactly,
But
he
I
said,
think
exactly,
it's even
this shouldn't be
diminishing,
about someone's
how they act by
bedroom's
saying they act like rock
preferences.
stars, because rock
It
stars
should be
act, and
about
after a point they go
giving
rest.
right to
These
the
guys act
people
as
of the
rock
same
stars
sex
all day
to be
long,
able to have a
all
family.
night long.
For
I
example,
just did a
why
video yesterday
bisexuals
of the
should be
wife of Governor
considered a group
Kebbi
of people
State in
that
the middle of
asks for
this
right.
economic crisis,
Bisexual
just
is a
rolling
sexual
around
preference.
in a
In
private
terms of
jet.
right,
There is no
you
governor in
either
Nigeria
marry a
that you
man
can
or a woman.
find inside
Disregarding
a
you
commercial
are a
jet in the
man
US.
or
I
a
have lived in the
woman,
US for
for which
some
I agree,
24 years
you
now.
should be able
I
to
come
marry
across
and have a family
governors,
with
senators
whoever,
in private,
you know,
commercial jets. It's
whoever you want
almost
or whoever you
a
love, like
scandal
he wrote.
to find a
XX
public
also wrote, he
official
said,
inside,
good that there's
private
a
jet.
dislike
I
or
have been in the same
anti-petition
train before
for
from Delaware,
LGBTQ
where the
expedition.
current president of the
Really,
US, who
we are
just
in
dropped out of the
Western
race,
Europe
Biden,
and it is
entered the same
2024.
coach with me
And
on my way to
besides,
Washington, D.C.
I don't
Why is it
know
that Nigerian
any
leaders can't do that?
propaganda
And that's why
related
that
to
list we mentioned earlier
LGBTQ
of people who are
taught at
inciting people
primary
to riot.
level. If you
We have now
understand, you
increased
understand, but
it
that is
to
his own
20.
opinion.
Initially, I think it was
Jill also
15 or
wrote, it's a new
14.
user here,
And this included
Alfiel, he said so
Buhari,
much
the
of
former
this
president, who
debate
was the
is
architect of
people
all
looking
this,
at
and all his enablers,
the
the former
phrase
central
LGBTQ
bank governor,
content
who
to be
created
taught
a
to minors,
crisis in the
and
currency
for
sector,
some reason
in
they
the monetary
assume that
sector,
what
by
is being
changing
taught
naira
is
or
gay sex.
coloration of the naira in the
This
middle
is
of an
absolutely
election. This
absurd
is where all the
and tells
dislocation
more
came
about
from.
that
But
person
why the
than
current
the
government
content.
must be
What
dealt
is
with even
actually being
more is
taught
that
is
when
just the
they came with
fact that these
impunity.
people
And
exist,
impunity was the
that
president
a
saying on the
man
first day
can love a
of
man,
being
that a
sworn in,
woman
that we're
can
going to
love
punish you
women
people
too,
with
etc.
removal of subsidy.
This
And he
is
went
not
ahead and did
sexual
it and
content.
completely
And
crippled
if you think
the average
that is it,
Nigerian
the
family
problem is within
from being
you.
able to survive.
Two
Such that by the
phrases,
time they
a man
completed
and a woman
their
can get
minimum wage
married. A
conversation, the
man
minimum
and
wage
another man
had
can
become
get
useless
married.
as well.
If you look
It
at these
cannot
phrases
even
and
transport
think it
a
is
person from
inappropriate
home to
sexual
work and back.
content,
They can't
and
buy a
another
bag of rice.
is
It can't
you.
feed you. So what are
You
we
need to
talking about? So
rethink
this is the
your
reason why
ideas.
I
So,
very clear,
these are the
and I
opinions
do
online
not
about this. You know,
I
I
do
say
not
it's going to be
wager even about
controversial.
it that the
So, let
protest
me
will
take
go
the last
ahead and will
one.
be very
It's from
successful and
Thomas
will be
Pool. He said,
massively
look, I
massively
agree with you.
attended by
And
Nigerian
indeed, a
across
woman can have
the
a
country and
woman,
beyond.
and a man can have a man. Who are we to say how
I
one
hear
can
what
love
you said,
someone?
and
Love
let's
is
look at the
love.
demands that you're
I'm
making.
pro-gay. I'm pro-gay
Some of which
marriage
are Constitution
between.
for the Federal Republic of
However, I
Nigeria through
think
a
a lot of
sovereign
people watch
national conference,
what is happening in the
immediately
US
followed
and
by a
see
national
examples
referendum
of
was one of
children
them.
having
You also said touch the Senate
explicit
arm of the
material
Nigerian legislative
available in
system,
their
keep the House
schools,
of Representatives,
libraries,
and make
and
lawmaking
are
a
fearful that
part-time
this will come to
endeavor.
Europe.
And then he said paying
I, for
Nigerian workers a
one,
minimum wage of
I
nothing
am
less than
more trouble about everything
250,000 naira
that
monthly.
follows T.
Now remember that just a few days
Yeah,
ago,
that follows T
the NLC and
in
the
the
Nigerian government arrived at
LGBT.
the sum of
So
70,000 naira monthly,
that
with
will
a
be
subject to review
the
it
plus
after 3 years.
Bs,
Isn't that a way into the
QCAPGN, and like
conversation
that.
for the first
How
instance?
confusing
No,
it is, or
these are
plus
knee-jerk
as mentioned
reactions. Knee-jerk in
before.
the sense that the only reason why the NSC actually got their 70,000
I
was
don't
because
like
of the threat of this protest.
the
Otherwise, they
courts
have been
like
at it,
rhetoric and a
have
company
they've been going to meetings all the
virtual
time. And I don't want
signaling
to
constantly,
disparage the
where we have
NSC
to
leaders too
remember
much, but
that there are groups
I was with
within
them
our
before.
society,
A few months
usually
ago, where we
religious
had a
type,
protest on the streets of Abuja, and
who
I know what
we
goes on
never
background. They're under a
accepted.
lot of
So
pressure from
my
security
point
agents,
is,
traditional rulers.
we need
There's a
to figure
whole
this out
complication
because
to how they operate, including their own inadequacies,
before
which is not the issue here.
we need to
The issue
figure
here
this
is that
out,
it's the Nigerian people
because
who are calling for a living
it's a
wage,
kind of mix up here.
not
Before mention the
NLC
people
bureaucrats.
we
And
never
that's the
accept
difference
them,
between what
let
they have
alone
said and
the gay people.
I would have
Hopefully,
expected the
schools
NLC
understand
to
this
actually
and continue
declare
to
strike,
only
because
make
each time they
it
demand for
aware
wage
and nothing more.
increase, the
There are
Nigerian
a lot of
people
comments here
join them
and
in their
there,
strike. Civil society groups
for it and
activist groups, the
against it.
media, all of
So
them are
let
always
me
part of
know
it. But
your
now that
own
Nigerian
opinion. Are
people
you
are
for it? Are
demanding
you
for
against
relief,
it?
I would have expected
Because
the
the
NSC
fact is
to
these people exist,
stop behaving
and
like
there's nothing
see
anybody
that the
can do to make
Pontius
them not
Pilate,
to
like, so
exist.
wash our hands off this.
So
Please
what
go and
can you
have the
do?
conversation with the
So
government.
put your own opinion
Okay,
in the
but
comment section. Let me know what you
let's look at
feel.
another
You
angle.
can't wish
What
them
if the
away.
president now calls, because the suggestion by the NLC is that the president should actually judge with the leaders, and one doesn't even know who the leaders of this protests are. Are you one of them? And if government really says, okay, come, let's judge, let me tell you what I plan to do, would you, go to that meeting at the round table? Because they say it's usually better to judge than to war.
No, I won't go to any roundtable with government because the demands are very clear. If these demands are to be met, the government knows what to do, exactly what to do. But I can promise you that they're not interested in solving the problems. That is the reason why they are bribing religious leaders, both Muslim and Christians across the country, to tell people not to go out to protest. That's why they are pushing their officials to provoke and incite people. You should hear what Bayo Ononuga said, accusing the Labour Party, in a very reckless and, in my view, very xenophobic way, stylishly accusing a section of the country of inciting people to riot that, on issues that affects everybody. If government wanted to talk to people, they wouldn't do that. But the important thing is that I can guarantee you that they are not interested in addressing this issue. If they want to address this issue, they'll be so fundamental that there is not going to be anything else done between now and until a new Nigeria is built. But don't let anybody deceive you that you're going to get a brand new Nigeria, or a Nigeria that's focused on progress and development without staging a fight. That's what we should not have any illusion about. So if they call anybody to any meeting, I can guarantee you will also be the usual people they call. Somebody was saying earlier that, they didn't know NSAS leaders. Let me bust your bubble today. The problem they have with NSAS was that they were trying to create leaders for NSAS. There was a time that the police had a meeting with Naira Marley. You remember that?
Yes.
And then at a point, they went and brought the video to the headquarters of the police. It was when it didn't work that they went after the organic people who were fighting on the streets, like your columnists, your analysts properly described. So if it's the nature of Nigerian government to be deceptive and to be dishonest in dealing with public issues. So waste my time sitting down here that, these are the people I want to recommend to dialogue with government. Nigerian government doesn't believe in dialogue. They will only dialogue when the people have exercised their own authority to say enough is enough. And I've never seen that. I don't see how that is going to happen. And to meet up with all these demands at any rate, will go beyond just ordinary dialogue. So let Nigerian people revolt and get the country they want. And let those who they have hired be given the marching order to do what Nigerian people do best. Not to organize another jamboree or a meeting where everybody's coming around to deceive that, I'm not representing, I'm not going to any meeting. I've never, and I've said this, and this is important for the public to know, I've never entered into any government office before, officially in Nigeria, except some of them that deals with my daily life, or the ones that disrupt my daily life. I get forced to go into police stations.
Let me just come in here because
I don't go to meetings with government because I know what those meetings are about. It's to go and compromise and bribe people. And that's why you see some of our labor people sound the way they sound. They've attended too many midnight meetings with those.
All right. Okay, sure. Let me just come in here before we go for Kakaki Socials at 8. One of the demand is that, release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu unconditionally, and to demilitarize the Southeast. And again, conversations are ongoing with regards to releasing Nnamdi Kanu. However, is it just down to the executive? What about the state government of, the southeastern region, the governors themselves? Do you think that they have a part to play in this as well, in terms of the demand for good governance and ending bad governance?
No, I completely agree with you, and we have made it very clear in the updated demands that everybody that is protesting must also go after their state government. Because if you look at what the governors are doing in destroying the economies of their state, in corruption and looting and public waste, you would know that it should not be spared at all. I mentioned earlier how governors roll around. There are governors in Nigeria who don't even live in their state capitals, live in Abuja. And I heard one of them make a foolish statement today that this hardship that is going on, I think is the one from Taraba, that the hardship that's going on in the country is the act of God. It's not the act of God, it's the act of man, governors, and those who are governing Nigeria. So these governors must be taught a lesson as well. As we are teaching the federal lesson, everybody should go to their state government house, protest against them. Make sure that we get rid of what they call security vote, which is one of their biggest sources of corruption in government houses. We have asked the people
we just
of
have to
Kogi
end
State,
it here.
for instance, just one instance, to go to the government house and force their former governor to be delivered to EFCC as a way of teaching former governors lessons that if you still...
All right. We must thank you very much for making our time to share this thought with us. The worry is if there's no judge, then how does the protest end at the end of the day? Will it continue forever and all that? So, all right. We thank you very much for your thoughts. Omoyele Sowore has joined us as our guest on the issue to talk about the End Bad Governance protest that is being planned. He's a political activist and a former presidential candidate.